Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to you, wherever you are. Thank you so much for listening to us here on the Standard I just said the name wrong. What a great start. It's been a while. To the Standard Paradox.
There it is.
My name is David Hall. Thank you so much for joining us. Happy New Year. Merry Christmas. Happy Thanksgiving. Did we miss any other? Have we been...
I mean, at this point, you've gotten like half of the major holiday, so we should just probably
look, this is the perfect start because when did we last publish an episode? It was pre-Thanksgiving, right?
Maybe.
Yeah, so I have to wish them a
October?
happy Thanksgiving.
Yeah. There you go.
Come on.
Couldn't
Anyway, my name is David Hall. Thank you so much for being here with us. We are graced today by the wonderful Makenzee Pair. How are you, Makenzee? Or Mac?
I'm well. How are y'all?
We're good.
Good.
And also, joining me as always, Connor Moon.
Yep, I'm here.
Happy New Year, man.
Here to talk. Happy New Year. Yes.
Happy Thanksgiving.
It's the new start to everything, resolutions, all things. So it's going to be a fun topic today. Just for a recap, the idea of our podcast is, you exist in this, at least all of us are wrestling with this idea of how do we maintain, function with constantly battling expectations or, false expectations, even hey, you're supposed to be this or you're supposed to be that, but you can't seem to ever actually get to that expectation. And so you find yourself in this weird paradox of I was supposed to be there, but I can't be there. So should I reset or should I keep straight? What does that look like? And so, the idea of this is it's an everyday kind of thing, a standard, if you will, paradox that you live in, especially, for us here who are Christians. You have this idea that you're supposed to be perfect, but that's just not the reality of life. And it's hard.
Indeed.
It's hard to wrestle with, especially for new believers. So that's the idea.
Certainly true. What have you guys been up to? Makenzee, tell us a little bit about yourself. How's your 2022 started?
My 2022 has been so fun already. I stepped into a new role here at Midway.
I heard about this.
So you're working at Midway. You're
Yes.
on staff at Midway.
Yes,
How
I
long
am
have
on
you
staff
been
at Midway.
at Midway?
I have been at Midway for 3 years. But many, many years before that. I've been on staff for 3 years, I should say. And I've been in every role under the sun in those 3 years. That's where I'm shooting.
Okay.
No, I'm now our middle school director. And so I started that on January 1st, and it has been a blast so far.
What does that entail?
Loving on middle schoolers.
Fun.
Yes, I don't even
And
know
just for the people on the other side of the ocean who may be listening to this, what age group would middle school entail?
That is 6th through 8th grade, so ages would be 12 to 14, 11 to
prime puberty.
Yes, and
Great
boys, it's happening.
Sounds exciting.
But they're so fun.
So that's a new role for you?
Yes, I started that on January 1st.
What were you doing before that?
I was our young adults. I was interning under Luke Hughes, who was actually on your last podcast.
Sure was.
And so I've worked close with Luke, and I was overseeing a lot of our young adult ministry and things that we were doing there. I filled in for Hannah Neely in our campus experience department. I've done a lot. So
that's awesome. I mean, I have been working on trying to work better with kids. Mm-hmm. I personally, struggle is the wrong word for me, but I often find myself whenever I'm with kids, I'm I don't know what to do. It doesn't come naturally to me. Mm-hmm. My wife, on the other hand, amazing with kids, any age, particularly younger ones. But me, I'm always just ugh.
Is that all ages for you?
Yeah, I guess so. Okay. It's a funny one for me because it's not like I completely shut down. Yeah. Because I'll still talk to anyone. I still but I think what it is, I think too hard about how other kids feel about me.
Mm-hmm.
I get really worried that they think I'm a weirdo or a loser or something, that they don't like me. So then I super stressed out about that. I'm like, oh, these kids prefer this other person more than me, and I want them to like me. So I do not envy you in your new role. That sounds like something I couldn't personally do. So I'm glad they've got you.
You can give it a shot. I'm looking for a 6th grade boys leader.
Ooh, hashtag
6th grade.
Yes.
How old is that?
That would be like 11 and 12.
Oh boy.
Oh, it's so fun though.
Yeah.
Look, hey, I'm not gonna lie. Okay, when Chandler started serving, he actually like on-ramped into doing ministry stuff in middle school. So like, or serving with middle school ministry when he got out of college and stuff. So, but his first group was 6th grade boys, and he got lucky because some 6th grade boys can be really energetic and really that can be tough to handle. But Chandler got this group that was just, oh my god, dude, they were so chill. It was crazy. It was like this
Just
abnormal.
Sit down and paint.
Dude, I'm from,
Play
like, it
with
was crazy.
Play-Doh.
So you never know, man. It could be, and for him that was like huge. Like he needed that because it was a big moment for him to jump into ministry. So you never know, I guess, with some of those groups.
It's for me, it's very foreign because, you know, growing up in England, not in a church environment, I was only ever around kids and associated with kids my own age.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
You know, so like I've never been someone who's kind of, you know, worked with kids younger than me or really, like I even say, associated with kids who are not my age. So coming out here and, you know, Midway's got this such amazing kids department where so many volunteers and people who are on staff actively engage in their lives on a pretty much daily basis. So weird to me. It's amazing, but for me, I'm like, I wouldn't even know where the first place to start with that sort of thing.
Right.
You know, it's completely foreign.
What I love is like what you just said. Chandler had such a chill group, but like the group before him may have been just crazy. And middle school's so unique because every group is so different. So I think that's really cool.
Yeah.
Has working with kids been something you've been wanting to do, or is it something you just fell into?
It is 100% something I just fell into.
Right.
I, for the longest time, okay, so both of my parents were in ministry pretty much all of my life. My father has been in ministry all of my life. And I always said I will never be in ministry. Never. And here I am 3 years in, and I love it. So when I started, I thought that I was going to be with young adults or older. I never saw myself going back down to younger ages, but the Lord knew what he was doing.
So what, you said that you did not want to be in ministry. You were
not.
adamant that you weren't going to do it.
Right.
Yet here you are.
Yeah, here I am.
How did that happen?
You know, I really don't even know. So it happened so quickly, but I was working at a little boutique in Carrollton, and the door opened here for me to, I gotten really involved in Luke's ministry when he first started Common Space, which is our young adult ministry. I got really involved just with on his leadership team, helping plan events and that kind of thing, and fell in love with it. And so then the opportunity opened for me to be able to come in and help and be paid for it. And so I just...
That's the most important thing right at the end there, you know. Will I be paid?
Right. How much?
I'm joking, of course.
Yeah. But yeah, so the door just kind of opened, and just, like I said, I still never, it still shocks me now to look back and be like, wow, I am in ministry. I mean, like, it just shocks me because I was so adamant for so long.
That could be a cool kind of intro into your story. So like, because the thing I'm wondering now is like, what did you feel like you should be doing, or what did you expect to be doing like now in your life, 5 years ago? And like use that to kind of maybe share some of your background, some of your story.
Okay. Let me tell you what I wanted to be doing right now, which I'm sure is going to shock y'all. I wanted to be a 911 dispatcher.
Really?
That's so specific.
Right? I don't know.
Why?
I don't know.
Okay.
But then,
those are the people who like sit in a room and you're
Yes.
the first point of contact, right?
So someone who is just got into a car accident is going to call 911, and I would be the ones that would shoot them to the cops or whoever.
That stressed me out too much, man.
My mom was like, Mackenzie, what is wrong with you? But I was adamant about wanting to do that. That was short-lived because then I came into ministry.
Why did you want to do that? Like, had you seen a movie or?
I watched the show 911.
There's a show?
Yes.
Is it about 911 dispatchers?
Yes, it really is.
Sounds thrilling.
Yes, it is. And I also watched LAPD, and I watched that with my granddad. I mean,
all these super realistic shows.
yes, and my granddad was in law enforcement, so I was just thinking that.
Okay.
Okay. But before that, I wanted to be a teacher. I wanted to love on little kids, like little kids. I wanted to do like kindergarten. And I'm shout out to all the teachers. I'm so thankful I didn't go that way.
Be stressful.
So
it makes me think. I don't want to derail it here. I want to get into your story, but it makes me think of like what other unique TV shows or movies have influenced people to do what they do. Like for me, like I didn't watch like a pastor. Like a reality TV show. You know what I'm saying? Like there wasn't like a drama about ministry. Well, there is, but like it's not.
There's that one movie, I cannot think of the name of it now, but I've always been wanting to watch it, and Emily's told me about it, and it's about this student and a professor who I think he may be taking like a theology class or something, and the professor's like, God doesn't exist. And then one of the students is like, no, he does. And it's a whole movie about like this professor coming to faith through one of his students and stuff.
Yeah.
That's like the closest thing I can think of.
Right.
It sounds pretty good. Apparently it's pretty good.
Yeah. There's 3 of them.
Oh, really?
God's Not Dead. Yep. That's the name of
There we go. That's why he's here.
Yeah. That is why
because
he's
of
here.
that shit.
That right there.
I just loved it growing up. It was just, I couldn't keep it off. Anyway, so I was just, that's unique how you saw. And I think a lot of people do that. So I was just trying to brainstorm.
It's crazy that that's where I wanted to go, because I have such a bleeding heart and I take on everyone's issues and I want to fix them. So then like I think about someone calling me and telling me they just got in a car accident. Well, I'm just going to load up and go handle it myself. I'm not even going to call the cops.
Don't worry about it. They're not on the way. I am.
I got you.
Makenzee's got a little siren on her car. Just throw it on there.
It's just one little siren. I'll stick my head out and make the noises. I mean, like,
oh no. Oh no.
Yeah, so I don't know.
Makenzie, they're in Florida. Doesn't matter.
I'm coming.
Just hang on.
Oh gosh.
I'll talk to you the whole way.
Yes. So I don't know what I was thinking, but my mom quickly brought me back down to earth where I needed to be.
So was it then because you said that both your mum still works here at Midway, your mum and your dad both working in ministry. Was that something that they brought you around towards then to bring you here eventually, or did you because like Connor was saying, like this isn't what you initially wanted to do. So was your parents being in it and seeing their sort of influence in the church and their success within it something that propelled you into it when you were thinking about it, or?
I guess I'd say yes and no.
Okay.
I saw ministry is hard. Ministry is so hard. You see hurting families, like ministry is just hard.
I don't think that's something that people would necessarily think looking from the outside in, because most people will just come on a Sunday and see what's happening on the stage. Right. And then that's it. Right. So unpack that a little bit.
Okay. Well, I just know from watching my parents, like they would just come home and just be emotionally drained from families that they had talked to that day of things they're going through or events they're planning, like they were just drained. And so that was one of my reasons on why I was never going to go into ministry, because I just saw what it did to my parents, but it was so rewarding, when you have that child that you get to baptize, or when it's so rewarding in the end. But I don't know, I guess it goes both ways on if them being in ministry was really the reason because like I said, I was not going to be in ministry. So I necessarily didn't think about my parents when I made that decision, but I don't know.
That's interesting because, for me, I'm thinking of, so like what you were saying, was that an accelerant, if you will, for her choice here? And she's saying no, it was like complete opposite almost, that was the reason she didn't want to be in ministry. And I think there's a lot of things like that. For instance, my family dealt with addiction growing up, so that area is off limits for me. You know what I mean? Like it's so much so that I wouldn't even consider those things. You know what I mean? Like it's just so I'm not even
like
entertain that path.
As in you're not gonna casually drink alcohol or casually smoke. Is that what you're saying?
Well, in the sense of like I'm not going to entertain the benefits of that world.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like so like in finances is another great example of I'm not going to ignore the reality of poor management of your finances and things like that have been a historical issue for some of the stuff in my family. But what's unique about your story is you were in that same kind of boat. Makenzee here, I'm talking to you. But you were in that same kind of boat of like, I'm not going to go down that world.
Mm-hmm.
But it wasn't such a strong passion of yours to stay away from that as it is for other things in people's lives. So what I'm trying to get at there is like that maybe there's something to ministry. Like you said, it's rewarding. There's some parts of it that are rewarding. Maybe there's something to some of these professions. Like, for instance, I know a guy that he's a son of a well-known coach around this area that's in coaching now. And so same idea, like if his dad hated coaching, or it was too much, or he saw the behind the curtain scenes or whatever that aren't appealing, maybe he wouldn't be in coaching, but he is today.
Mm-hmm.
So what is it about what you saw that made you consider ministry from your parent? Like your mom and dad were in ministry. What was it, the rewarding side of that for you, that was like, okay, I guess I'll be the middle school director at Midway because of these things?
So let's unpack my story a little bit more. I lost my father in 2016 to cancer. He was the executive pastor here at Midway for many, 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 many years. And just from the impact that I saw that he had on so many people's lives, and here we are 5 years later, working on our 6th year, still have that impact. I think that has poured a little bit into why I've decided to step into ministry. Just with his, I don't know if I want to say, I just think that it has a lot to do with the impact that I saw that he had and that my mother has, and how there's just so many people that love them, love who they are because of the things that they've done here. I don't know. I don't really know.
Have you?
I mean, that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And I expect that is also twofold sometimes, because I guess, so this is really my question, is because I never met your dad.
Mm-hmm.
I know your mom,
Mm-hmm.
and I love her.
Mm-hmm.
She's an amazing person.
Wild.
I've never met your father,
Mm-hmm.
but I have met people who knew him
Mm-hmm.
and speak so highly of him and
Mhm.
about the impact he had on the church and
Mhm.
people around him.
Mm-hmm.
How has it been for you growing up? I mean, how long have you been coming here to Midway?
Okay, so we've been in Carrollton for 20 years, so we've probably been here 18
Okay, so
or more.
18 years,
Mm-hmm.
give or take,
Mm-hmm.
of you being here at the church, where your family is how would you say it? Like a
Staple.
yeah, like a staple of the church. You've grown up with that.
Mm-hmm.
Has it been hard to deal with some of the expectations of being, the daughter of your parents within a church
Mhm.
who have had such an impact? Has there been like a pressure on you ever to be like a perfect daughter, or I can't mess up because everybody knows who my parents are, they work for the church,
Yes.
Your
and
mom's
now
literally on the landing page of Midway Church. Like,
right,
Yes.
so like
Yes.
how like, because that's pretty unique situation where both parents
Mhm.
have had such an impact on a single entity,
Mhm.
and then you're also working for them now as well as having grown up within it.
Mhm.
How's that been?
I have always held myself to a higher standard, because like I'm not gonna do XYZ because of where my parents are. People do know who my parents are. They'll look at me differently. It affects them, and it affects anybody, like who your actions reflect things of your parents and that kind of thing. But it is definitely different with my parents both working here. And then right after I lost my dad, I went through the whole phase of just being so angry at God, and I felt like I could not tell anybody that, because my mom is on staff and my dad has been on staff, but I'm angry at God. So that was a huge struggle for me because I felt like I had this expectation, like everybody was looking at me to be happy all the time but I just lost my dad, who I'm just like, well, why the crap did, why would you let that happen to me? I went through all those emotions, but I feel like there was the expectation that I have to be happy and continue on because, well, my mom's still here and she's amazing. Like, as you said, happy all the time. And so I did feel that expectation. There are still days that I feel that.
And you even, like, it's even changed more now because not only do you have that expectation from, your mom and dad being such influential people here at Midway, but now you're leading a ministry.
Right.
Now you're the captain of a ship.
Mm-hmm.
So now you have these expectations that you have to meet.
Yes.
How do you manage that? But also, like, one of my pet peeves is people in these positions, you don't feel like you can have an authentic conversation with them because you have to manage those expectations somehow. Mm-hmm. And I feel like that's just not a great representation of that management. So how do you do that as a ministry leader? Your parents worked here. What's some of the stuff that goes on in your head?
I don't do it very well. So as I said to both of you before this is such a perfect day for me to do this because I woke up on the wrong side of the bed. And it's because I had a dream last night about my dad. So then I was feeling all the grief, just the nastiness this morning, and have been pretty much all day. Been angry with God today and all that. But then I was like, I have to constantly remind myself it's no surprise to God that I'm angry. Like he wants me to come to him with those emotions, regardless if I'm happy, sad, mad, whatever it is. He still wants me to come to him. I don't even know if I'm answering your question right now.
Go for it.
But
you are.
That was my thing this morning. I was so angry, but I was like, well, I still am going to turn to him because these emotions that I'm feeling right now don't surprise him. He knew I was going to wake up this way this morning. He knew that all the stress, like he knew I was going to be this way this morning.
Yeah.
So it is no surprise to him, and he is going to ultimately take those feelings away. It may take, who knows how, I don't know how long it'll take, or if it ever will go away.
Yeah.
But he is who I have to turn to be able to uphold those expectations. Because if not, I will just not be nice to people that I really need to be nice to.
Yeah. That does feel so exhausting.
Yes.
To just get to the place of where you're consistently having, and I think that can be one of the drains of ministry, but you're always having to, and I'm just going to be raw, like not me personally, but I've seen it where you're always having to put this facade on that everything's together.
Oh yeah.
That everything's working fine. Mm-hmm. Like there's been times here with our like I'm an online campus pastor. There's been times where our live stream has just decided to not work at all. Mm-hmm. And then like on my way to try to fix these things, I have church members that are just happy and they want to shake my hand and talk, and I have to catch myself and realize that, oh my goodness, like this is a human being in front of me and I am not managing those expectations well. Mm-hmm. And so but I think we all, it can just get so draining and so exhausting, like what you were talking about,
right? To
try to put that facade on that everything's okay. We've got it all together. You know what I mean?
But I think it's a good thing too, to let people know, like regardless if I'm a minister or not, I am human. I do have all the emotions that they have.
Definitely.
And so it's just all about how you handle them.
Yeah.
I was gonna ask. I always find it, I don't know if interesting is the right word or not, but let's just go with it. I always find it interesting to hear people openly say that they're like angry at God that day, because it's such a, it feels like almost wrong to even hear other people say, "Oh, I'm angry at God." It's like you can't be mad at God, because you hear about like. You hear all the way through the Bible about like times where like God's like been angry at other people. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because they've done something, they've like made bad decisions, like humanity's made bad choices, Yeah. So it feels almost weird to hear like other human beings say that they're mad at him, because it's like, why would you do that? Because he's like, how would you? So I know for a fact that there are people who listen to this who aren't Christians. How do you kind of relate to somebody else who isn't necessarily saved? How you can be angry at a God who knows how you're feeling, but it's okay. Does that make sense? Like, does it make sense to like ask like how, like, why is it okay to be angry at God some days? Can you answer that?
How is it okay? Of course, not theologically. Like, that's not. Well, I mean, you could, but like, I'm with you. Like, how? Like, I'm trying to picture myself as.
Because if I'm angry at God as a Christian, I want to be able to rectify that, of course.
First of all, yeah, what does that mean?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, what is it for you? We'll use you as an example, Makenzie, because you said it, that you put yourself there. What does that mean to be angry at God for you? Like today, I guess is a great example.
Today, let's see. I was angry this morning because in my dream last night, I had, so everything that I have been walking through since January 1st with this new job and all that kind of thing, there's just been a lot of change in my life. And my dad was the one, like, me and him are a lot alike. So if I had an idea, I'd run it past him, and then he would either be like, Makenzie, you are ridiculous, or he would be like, yes, girl, let's do it. But so I have these dreams where I can talk to my dad, I can see him, I can talk to him, but he cannot talk back to me.
Oh boy.
So this morning, I woke up angry that I was trying to talk to him about all these changes that I have going on in my life, but I still I don't feel any better about it because he couldn't say anything to me. So, long story short, I think that for me today, my anger resulted in questions. I was like, why did you take my dad? You know, why am I left now to try and figure out things that he would have helped me through? You know, like, it just turns into more like confusion, I guess. Does that make sense? Does that answer your question?
Sure.
Yeah, it seems like, I mean, just being honest, it seems like God, through those dreams, if you will, just follow me here, is robbing you of those. Like he's giving you, here's a little bit, but no, you can't have
the carrot, you can't have the stick kind of thing.
Yeah, like, it's just not.
And I lead a life group here too. I tell them all the time, we don't understand it, but it's ultimately God's perfect plan. So that's what I have to do to remind myself, like, I'm not going to understand why he took my dad. You know, there are reasons. I may never understand why. I may understand why I'm still going through this pain, but ultimately it's his perfect plan, and I have to be okay with that. For sure.
I know that from like my old perspective and then coming into a newer perspective as somebody who's saved, like the idea of Christians having negative emotions towards God sometimes, it just seems so alien. So I think it's always somewhat refreshing to hear when people who are like professed people of faith have their ups and downs in a relationship with God. You know?
And I think it also all depends on like what you do when you do have those emotions.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, like if I this morning would have woken up and just been mad, angry, and then not turn, like I got in the car and I turned on my little worship music. I'm reading through the Bible this year. I listened to that this morning. You know, like, I think that if I would have turned away and went and avoided God, I think that's when you start getting into some harder,
darker.
Yes. But I think it's all about how you handle it. I mean, right after I lost my dad, I wanted nothing to do with God because I did blame him for what he did. But at that time, I mean, like, I didn't see that it was his perfect plan. I mean, I knew that in my head, but did I truly believe that? No.
Yeah, that's tough.
I was angry. Now I do know that it is his I mean, like I said, I knew that then, but now I truly believe that, and I know that he's going to take that anger away if I just go and sit, or if it's not even me like reading my Bible or whatever, just sitting in his presence, talking to him. I'm angry at you, God. You know, like I said, it's no surprise to him that I'm mad.
Stop making noises, please.
I know, I'm sorry. I talk with my hands.
Well, one thing I was curious about is, because you just kind of alluded to it right there, is you lost your dad, what you said, like 5 years ago?
Yes, 2016. June
2016.
5th, 2016.
So now it's just you and your mum.
Yes,
Right.
and my sister. I have a sister.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Yes,
Is
she
it just
doesn't
you
live
and your
around
mum at
here.
home?
Yes, it is just me and my mom at home.
Was your sister with you, still living with you at the time? Or was it?
No.
Okay.
She was. It was in like a transition
Right.
period.
I guess she's certainly still a part of this question.
Of course.
But, obviously your dad was the man
yes.
in your household.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's yourself and your mom with your sister who's away from you.
Mm-hmm.
How did y'all deal with this, that stage of your life together? Or was it a thing where you individually dealt with it in very different ways?
Yes.
Would you be willing to talk about that?
Of course I would. Okay, now I'm about to blow your mind again. I did not like my mother growing up at all. And I think it's because me and my dad, two peas in a pod.
Mm-hmm.
He understood me. I understood him. My mother would, I don't know, me and my mom, she's just so free-spirited and go with the flow. And I'm like, we need a plan right now.
Right.
I need control. So my mom could say to me, Makenzie, I need you to unload the dishwasher or something. I don't know what it would be. And I would get angry at her. But then I could go to my dad and he could say the same thing my mom just said and I'd be fine. And I'm like, okay, Dad, thanks. So me and my dad were just two peas in a pod. So that being said, another emotion on top of being angry, like I was hurt because I just lost my best friend and I didn't like my mom. So I was like, oh my gosh, it's just me and mom now, and Kate, because my sister lived in Oregon. So it's not like she was. Oh,
wow.
Yeah, she was nowhere close to here.
Yeah.
So it was just me and my mom. But so the first little bit, I kind of put my healing, I guess you could say, or grieving aside because I had to help my mom. I mean, like, she is so strong and you would have no idea that she's even hurting. But I wanted to take care of her. So yes, we did. For some of it, we would kind of walk through that together and see what that looked like. But I had to also come to terms with, she's my mother. I may not like her all the time, but she is my mother and I want her okay. Now she's my best friend. Like the Lord mended that relationship through losing my father. So yeah.
That couldn't have been easy though.
No.
Right. Like there must have been like a lot of struggles in there for you.
Mm-hmm.
And that coupled with what we were talking about earlier about coming to church every Sunday and still having to put on that face.
Mm-hmm. And I didn't. After my dad died, I did not come here. So because my dad was on staff here for so long, I saw him everywhere. So it just hurt. It just hurt to be here. And I was wrestling with the whole thing of being angry with God. So no, I didn't come here. And I didn't go anywhere. I just kind of pulled away. And that's when I was saying just a little bit ago, I think that when you don't go to God with those anger or with those feelings, then that's when you get into a darker place. I mean, like I would say that like I was in like a state of depression. I mean, like I didn't go anywhere. I didn't want, but my number one thing was wanting to make sure that my mom was okay because she was here. She was happy, but she was also still taking care of everybody else here and whatever that may look like. So, it was hard.
I'm sure. I've personally never lost any sort of, the most major death in my family that I have like personally experienced was my grandfather.
Mm-hmm.
That was a few years ago now, and that hit me hard. But it's it's nothing like losing your dad. So I cannot relate to that.
And
but I can only imagine it was incredibly hard.
It was hard. And so my dad was actually diagnosed he died from cancer, stage 4 lung cancer, and he was diagnosed in 2013. So he lived for 3 years with it. And that's solely because he treated it holistically. Wow. So we found out on September 17th that he had stage 4 lung cancer and had 3 to 6 months to live. So right then I started like grieving my dad and he was still with me. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And then he lived past that marker and lived past that marker and lived past that marker. And then the year of 2016, I mean, like, I thought he was fine. He worked for like the 2 years, whatever. Well, then in January of 2016, it progressed to his brain. And he always said through the entire sickness, I may not have not have my physical body, but I have my cognitive ability. And he lost that in January of 2016 because the cancer had spread to his brain. So then we knew like his quality of life just went down so bad. So to watch that, I kind of want to say was even harder than actually losing him, because at that point, like, I knew he's healed, he's better, he has his physical and cognitive ability, you know, all of it now. Yeah. But watching him decline those last 6 months were rough. Mm. So
it's always something I still kind of try. I talk to my wife about this a lot, where I sometimes try to rationalize the idea of heaven, and this idea that when we get there to this place beyond as being prepared for us, we don't have those kind of things attached to us anymore, where like we are these like essentially perfect beings. I struggle with that a lot, because as a human being, I can't even possibly imagine what that would look like, be like, or anything. Yeah. So I don't know whether was that something you attached yourself to a lot or not, like, with your dad's passing, to, you know, to tell yourself that, you know,
that he's perfect now, or that
he's now beyond the suffering and the pain and everything. And was that difficult for you? Because sorry, go.
No, I'm sorry. Not necessarily was it like difficult for me to do that. I think it really like rested my mind to know like he's not hurting anymore, because I saw how much he was hurting. Yeah. He also had cancer on his bones, you know, so his body was hurting. I mean, like, so I just saw how much he was hurting before, and just to know like, I mean, even like, this is kind of dark, but like watching him take his last breath, like, I instantly felt some relief, because I knew like he's not suffering right here anymore. He's not laying in this hospital bed, like he is healed. And so I think that me and my mom both, I know my mom, we found a lot of peace in that.
That's good. Yeah, I know for myself that it may be because, you know, I'm just looking at it from my own sort of like, just I'm sitting in a car thinking about it kind of perspective of being like, I can't even fathom what that must be like. So I find the idea of thinking about somebody else in that capacity hard to do. But then I've never lost my dad or, you know, anyone like that. So I don't know if that would make it easier for me or harder or the same. I don't know.
And everybody grieves differently. You know, it's like what worked for me or what helped me didn't help my mom, or maybe not have helped my sister. You know, like everybody grieves so differently. So like the day that my dad died, 3 of my best friends took me to see Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, whatever, that night, just to like get me out of the house and help me. That didn't help my mom. You know, like my mom needed to stay home and just be in the home, but I didn't want to be there. So, you know, it's like everybody just grieves so differently. Sorry if I keep hitting my legs and the table.
No, it's fine. My acting teacher would hate that. She'd always say, like, because every time you'd be in a scene, that guaranteed, if you're like not in the scene, quote unquote, you slap your leg all the time. Like on like certain beats, slap your leg, and it's wasted energy. Is what she would say. She was like, you're wasting that energy. That energy that you're using to slap your leg is because you're not putting it into the scene. So you're wasting energy. A
lot of energy right now. I just talk with my hands.
There you go. I think it's like just hearing your story, like where you're at now, your story, some of the circumstances that you've brought yourself through, and even reconciling, I think some of your anger has revolved around control. And maybe I'm wrong, okay? I don't want to project any like false stuff. But what I'm seeing, like let me just give you an example.
Like, no, you're wrong.
Yeah, call me out. I'm a control freak. I know.
The reason I say that is because I am the same way with some of my more painful moments that I've had to wrestle with God. And I think this relates, and the reason I'm bringing it up is I think it relates back to your question about those who don't have the same worldview as we do, those that haven't began a relationship with God or are so angry they've walked away from that relationship. And I think with all those people, grief, loss, surprise is not foreign to those people. And so for you, Mac, with with all those circumstances, with your new role, starting at Midway, not wanting to be in ministry, but starting at Midway. Now you're not seeing yourself with middle school. Now you're in middle school.
Right.
It seems like what has happened has revolved completely around none of this has been Mac's plan. You know, and
Amen.
so and I think there's something to that. So how do you manage that control? Like, what does that look like for you to let go of those things? You know,
Ooh, it ain't easy. I said earlier, Luke said in the last podcast, what we are desperate for is control of the outcome. I quickly learned that I cannot control the outcome. I mean, like, just my dad is an example. That is not the outcome I wanted. I mean,
right.
Ultimately, I didn't even want him to get cancer, any of that. But that was not the outcome. Can you ask me the question again?
How do you like manage the idea is that everyone wrestles with that.
Yes.
They want to control that. That's what we were talking about the other podcast. But how do you get yourself over that hurdle of, you know what? I get it. Okay, God wants me in this position here at Midway, or, you know, the whole situation with your dad. You know, how do you wrestle with those things? And
I'm still trying to figure that out.
That's good.
Because I still, every single day, want to control the way that things look. I mean, this podcast, for an example, I asked both of you, can you please tell me what we're going to talk about so that I just know what's happening?
Yeah.
Like, that is my control. But I think this year I've prayed that the Lord would stretch me. And I think that goes into that, letting go of some of my control. I still don't really know how I'm doing that or what that really looks like, but I'm fighting against that every day. And if I realize it, like, okay, Makenzie, this is just you trying to control the situation, you can't. I just take a step back. I reevaluate my next move or whatever that may look like. I pray.
See, what you're saying is the most beautiful thing to me about the gospel is the idea that I don't know. And I'm trying.
Yes.
And I think that's what is so. I wish I could just sit down and have a conversation with those I love that don't know Christ, because it would be that. It would be like, what could you not control this week? Thank you. Yeah. Everyone on Sunday morning, we get to meet, and that's what's so draining, one, about ministry, but we meet individuals at the intersection of losing control and letting God just kind of take over. We meet them there, and that is a volatile, chaotic place.
Amen.
You know, we just had a Wednesday night with all these life enhancement classes that revolve around losing control, like, you know, living with an addict, or grief share, or things like that, where people are just hurting and broken, and we meet them in that moment. And it's just it's difficult to understand how you can continue to move forward. One thing for me is control, like we were saying earlier. And I just so wish I knew what what my next 10 days looked like, or what was going to happen. Because I just want to just let me make the decision. And I can't, like Max said, I can't tell you how I can fix that. I can't tell you. I was hoping you would give me actually an answer to that, so that I could figure it out.
No way.
But because it stresses me out. It gives me so much anxiety just to look forward and try to plan, and then things happen, and I hate it, and I don't think I'm alone in that.
No, you're not alone. And like one of my most hated questions, and like walking into this new role, I've been asked it a lot. What do you see yourself doing in 5 years?
Right.
What, and I'm like, I don't know. I would love to know. Trust me. I would love to control that outcome, but I don't know. Yeah. I don't know what tomorrow holds.
Look at the past 5 years. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what I'm saying, is like, there's just so much that happens. And I would love to encourage, all those that aren't Christians that are listening, like, we're not trying to intentionally project this facade that we have those abilities to control those things.
No,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it was either this week or the week before, Pastor Todd said something in his sermon where I'm paraphrasing completely here, but he essentially said that, it's no surprise that most people, when they get saved, particularly later in their lives, maybe when they're in adulthood, I'm an example of it, get saved when they're at that point, like you said, where they've completely lost control of something in their lives, and they're looking for somebody to come in and help them, rectify their situation. And that person is God.
Yes.
Because you bring yourself to the point where no one else can possibly help you, and you just let control go.
Right.
You just say, all right, I finally get it.
Yes.
I cannot do anything about it.
Right.
I need something else to come in and be with me through those moments, because I know now that there's nothing I can do about it. And it's really right. And it's, on one hand, I always think it's a shame that sometimes it takes that to bring somebody there. Like I said, I was that person. I was basically homeless, had no money. I was at college, like I loved a girl who couldn't date me because I wasn't a Christian. I had all these things going, and I just found myself being gravitated towards the church on the corner of Hollywood and La Brea every day. And then eventually I just kind of acquiesced and was like, okay, like let's see what this is up. See what's up with this Christian thing,
What's the big deal?
Yeah. And that was a good story for me. I know there are people out there who've been in that moment and still just they've hit the surface and ricocheted off the other way, but there's always another chance to come back. I just always think it's a shame that it sometimes takes that to bring people there. Sometimes it doesn't, sometimes it does, but
and that looks different for everybody.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Like for those that were listening, the 5,000 that Jesus preached to, it was they were in pain and hurting, but it wasn't like the thief on the cross who was literally about to die. So like those things, those moments, those intersections look vastly different for everybody, but they're moments that internally feel so heavy and significant. Like mine, it was dealing with a chaotic home. It wasn't losing a home and friendships and relationships. It was just that I can't control what my parents or what my families do, and God help, those kind of things. And so it just looks different for everybody. But the beautiful thing in that is, that's what brings all of us here to this table. That's why people listen to things like this and why people come to church, is because we all sharing in that
absolutely
common
and
ground.
It's somewhat of a paradox when you think about it, because it's like you regain some control by admitting that you don't have any.
Okay.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Dang.
Yeah.
On that note, I know, Makenzie, you have very important things to do.
Important person. That's right.
I mean, this has been fun. My other people can wait.
So I think we've had some good discussion here, and
Agreed.
Thank you so much for coming on and sharing with us, because I know that your story is not an easy one, and it's not too far removed in the past. So thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks
And
for having
hey,
me.
you're our first female guest
Whoop,
and
whoop.
first guest in 2022. So
Yes.
I'll get you a plaque.
It can only go up from here.
That's right. That's right.
Hey, it's been fun, and thank you so much for listening. If you have listened, especially this far, we really appreciate it. We really like doing this. I find a lot of fun personally. I get something out of it, so hopefully, if you've been listening, you got something out of it too. Y'all got anything else you want to share?
I'm good. Just feel free to reach out.
Yeah.
Connor
Absolutely.
Moon on Facebook, or David Hall on Facebook. All that kind of stuff. Feel free to reach out. So.
Don't reach out to Makenzie.
Yeah, please don't. I'm just kidding. Feel
No,
free.
yeah.
You'll never be able to find me because my name is not spelled like a normal Makenzie. So good luck.
Anyway, thank you so much, guys. We really appreciate you listening. Good night, good day, good afternoon, wherever you're listening. Have a great week.
See you.